7 billion teams.
Right.
But like the actual people that made the game probably were done in the first 5 minutes.
Right. Then it's like, we translated it into...
Right. Here's every office that is under a roof. That game's great. But let's talk about Fez.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody beat it?
No. I've beat it in the sense that I have gotten to New Game Plus.
I think that's beating it.
No. Not according to Jeff.
That's not even... That's just like... It's really funny seeing people... Like, now that I've seen the depths to which Fez goes, seeing people go like, this game looks stupid and easy. It's just another indie platformer, whatever. It's garbage. It's like, dude, you don't even understand what Fez is, if that's your reaction to it. If you're sitting there going like, these puzzles look stupid easy, all you gotta do is rotate. Like, you're not even playing Fez.
Oh, no.
You might as well not even play.
Which is interesting because when we recorded the quick look, that's kind of at the phase you were at in terms of how you were enjoying the game. It was like, this is kind of neat, the mechanic kind of interesting, but it seems I don't see what else there is to it.
It was easy, but then there was all this other stuff, and you see this stuff, and you're like, okay, I don't even know if this is stuff I should be even considering as... Right. If this is something I need to be worrying about or not. Like, it was impossible to know at that point, like,
how much of this,
what else is there?
Like, Phil Fish, like, it designs logos, so it's like, how much of this is this just iconography because the guy designs logos, or is this substantive to the game and you should be paying attention and perhaps writing it down?
So the latter is true. Just about everything in that game is something you should be paying attention. Well, most of what you're seeing there,
or at least corresponds to something
that matters in one way or another. Whether it's kind of adding flavor to the world itself, or just straight up revealing this entire other layer that the game operates on, where there's a completely different style of puzzle to it that. Parts of Fez might as well be a text adventure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's some adventure games.
Like, the platforming stuff in there is just a means to get around the world. Like, it could have just as easily been, text or an adventure game or something like that to just get to this place, do this thing.
The commitment to the universe is intense. It's kind of odd to think about, but Fez has a really tightly woven universe to it that is committed to this... Basically, this cube-based ecology, I guess.
Sure,
but it's
kind of the theme is the cube and everything.
But like, it's incredibly clever. Like the thoughtfulness,
the moments, like the revelatory moments where you figure out the thing you need to figure out so that you can solve the bulk of the rest of the game's puzzles. Like, those moments are insane.
Yeah, they're
awesome.
They're really awesome. It's plausible. That's a weird thing to say. Like,
at least within the constructs of the world it's presenting, it feels
well.
Like it fits within the game logic.
Somebody went out of their way to Phil Fish or whatever whoever it was who helped him out, or if he did it all himself. Which I believe after Brad, we talked to him about all that string theory stuff and all the multiple universes and that kind of stuff. I totally believe this all just spawned from his head. But there are the ways in which he has fleshed out that universe just makes sense, like in a kind of plausible way. Like, this makes sense why they would do this way in like their universe. And it makes more sense once you're kind of deeper in and understand the what I'm talking about. But like, it's great because then once you kind of accept that, you go in and be like, oh, wow, that is really clever how you can do all these things with this and that and the other thing.
It's insane.
It's insane.
It is. It's like I have not met anyone who has working on or worked on Fez. They seem like they're out of their fucking minds.
Yeah.
It's wow.
It's interesting because you kept talking about like wanting to find this or hoping there was this moment of revelation in the game, and it seems like there are not only one of those. Yeah, there's several of those.
There's a few of those. Yeah. And they're key to kind of doing the things you need to do to find all the hidden stuff. Is you need to be able to basically you have to learn how to learn in that game.
I want to ask you how I should learn, but I feel like learning how to learn is like probably the
I ended up looking some of that stuff up because it was
so you're here and then Vinny's here and you actually like I saw your notes. Like
I looked some stuff up too.
Oh, you did too?
Eventually, some stuff is really freaking abstract.
I was going to ask, like, what should I do?
Yeah, like how deep do you go before you say? I should look this up. Should you ask friends?
I'd say get to a point where you just don't know what to do next, and then I think it's crucial to keep moving.
Yeah,
don't get hung up. Don't get hung up. Like if you get to a point where you're just like I don't even know, just go ahead and look it up because it's I mean, knowing that you guys have day jobs and lives to lead, like you're not just gonna be able to spend the dozen. Well, it didn't take dozens of hours for the internet at large out there, but I don't think most people will stumble upon that shit by accident. And the people who did, bravo, because that shit is nuts.
So you're kind of saying that even if you get some of the leaps of logic you have to make to start fitting the pieces together, it's not going to ruin the enjoyment of the revelations that you'll get for skipping over one part of it.
So I went and saw, kind of what these things were, and then going back into the game and going to the spots where you would learn that stuff and seeing it all is still just as well. It's still really amazing. You see it and just go like, oh man, like that. Okay, I see how I could have pieced this from this and this from this. This is where it starts to make sense. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Is it a case where like 10% of the iconography is meaningful, and if you don't kind of mentally carve that stuff out of the rest of it,
I think
you're never going to see it?
Way more than that.
But I mean, but some stuff is more relevant than others, right? Like, because to me right now it's just a bunch of different colored blocks and pixel arrangements and stuff, and I don't know.
In terms of like which systems lead to higher completion percentages, yes, there's one that's more important than the rest.
So that's kind of the concern, is that on the surface it's all equally abstract and lacks any inherent meaning of its own. So I'm not going to remember it because I saw it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to stick in your mind if you don't have any context to place it in already.
But it's not about remembering what you see as you go. I mean, like I said, a little bit, but it's more just kind of trying to get a sense for what these things might be, and then setting yourself up mentally to where when you finally get to a point where this is where the part where it's telling you what all this shit means, that you are able to receive that information.
You can miss that stuff. So
it's very easy to I missed it a couple of times playing before going to look it up, and then it's like, oh man, I never would have even thought to look at this little animated thing and assume that it totally reveals this huge part of the world.
And there's stuff in it that's it's kind of the great thing, and also maybe could be the hindrance to it. It's people's enjoyment. You do actually have to bring some stuff to the table before playing the game to get a lot of the puzzles to reveal them. Not everything is in the game to fully understand it. Your knowledge going into the game, your background knowledge, how much you know about certain other things might help you solve puzzles.
Right.
So that's where going to the internet is oh geez, I would have never even I didn't even know this.
Some of the stuff there was some stuff like the telescope, okay, if I go
there's something
and
here,
do this,
right.
I know that there's going to be something here, and sure enough you look at it and go oh, that's probably what it is, but I don't have the patience to sit here and write all this shit out.
There's some extracurricular work that could be done.
Yeah. I got to the telescope and was just should
I go read a book about cuneiform or something?
No. It's it's not.
Study your religious texts.
Yeah, right. That, where it's just dude, I would have never.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah,
fuck you.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a
fucking
really
madness. That game is the video game personification of someone or a team of people's madness.
It's like the book from the scribbled in journal from Seven made a video game, and that's
But also, it all makes sense.
Kind of, does it?
It's the Event Horizon, but a 2D platformer.
I'm pretty sure, and I don't know this for sure, I should actually look it up, but I think the loading cube animation is a 4D cube. I remember seeing that somewhere.
Yeah, it's a hypercube.
Yeah. It's like traveling in the time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think there's time travel in that game.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think...
I have a little puzzle toy at home that I've had I got for Christmas a few years ago that now has taken on new significance because it looks an awful lot like the hexahedron from the very beginning of the game.
One of the things I was glad to see is, this one, I don't think it's a spoiler to say there are QR codes in this game.
Right.
But those are not necessary to get those cubes.
Yeah.
There are alternate puzzles.
Right.
Which, at first, when I saw that, I thought, haha, except that now I have to go to the App Store to find
Right, I ended up having to download a stupid QR code reader.
But it is good to know that while that is the easy way to solve that, that there are alternate means of deciphering those same puzzles.
But it looks like the way to solve those puzzles is fucked.
That doesn't shock me.
To some of the other, compared to most of the other stuff in that game. It's not as simple as going to the throne room and reading the thing. It's
there's also stuff that you just pretty much won't be able to do until New Game Plus.
Yeah, there are abilities you get when you beat the game for the first time that help you to be able to see the rest of the world.
32 cubes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would
getting 32 cubes trivial. Like there were parts where I was stuck a little bit, and now I just feel like an idiot for even. Like that stuff was just like basic platformer, just jump around, get stuff.
Find the door that you didn't open.
Yeah, exactly. Like just be observant and make sure you're going through all the doors.
I was banging my. Oh god.
Well, I was going to say I'm only up to 16 cubes, and like kind of cursory scan of the map, I don't see any more because they show how many little bits are left in each level. And
there are tons of doors that you have not found open yet.
I must have just overlooked.
So that's what happened to me. That's why I got stuck when I was doing that quick look. What I was talking about was I had opened the 16 cube door and gotten to that final area.
That's where I'm at.
And you see a door that says, "Hey, you need 32 cubes," and that's such a big number. You look at it and go, "Well, that's got to be some bonus ending fucking nonsense."
And
Fuck
then there are
that.
Like two other whole
but then there's
areas.
like two other spots in that zone that are weird puzzles that I just look at and go, well, I must have to solve this thing to beat the game. I don't even know what the fuck's going on. And that's where I was stuck, is guys, I was overthinking the first portion of the game. So it really is, the first layer of that game really is just you jumping around and making sure you are finding doors and getting qubits and getting cubes. And then once you beat the game, then feel free to go nuts. And that's the point. That is the point. I wouldn't even look at the internet until you have gotten the first ending.
Yeah.
Because you're not even equipped to deal with some of the puzzles you will find.
Right, because if you think that like you should be able to solve this puzzle, you might not be able to. And that's like the first thing. I got stuck on like the bell. Got up to the bell.
Yeah,
and was
exactly.
Like, I should be able to solve this. And like
no,
I didn't nearly have enough. So I left it. And then later on came back and was like, okay, the information to solve it was not there. You move on. Come back.
There's a key piece of information. When you get that piece of information, the bell is completely trivial. And you're like, oh, fucking, of course.
So I spent a half hour fucking ringing the bell.
Yeah.
At least it's kind of fun to ring the bell.
Yeah,
it's kind of
it
fun.
is fun.
Kind of fun.
Because I think that's early on is one of the weird things you have to get over in Fez is a lot of games these days have trained us to you enter a room and you have to find everything in that room, then you move on to the next one. And Fez is very much collect what you can, collect what is easy, move on to the next room. It's more important that you explore than it is that you check off everything in that room.
Right. Yeah.
And once that's very stressful early on. I remember there was a point where I would just sit and bang my head and just getting pissed at the game.
Yeah,
and
that's where I was.
And it's
like,
the point where you just let it go, just go on to the next room. Like maybe this will make sense at some point, and then you get all the cubes and you do the first run through. But it is that you do have to kind of like release this weird tension that other games have trained you how to play.
Right.
Because this game is very much like I find Zelda 1 to be a much more apt comparison. It's just here is a world. There are things you can do it in some order. There is kind of an order you could do it in, but it's really not that important which order you do it in. But then that order becomes more important as you learn information about the world. But like up front, just don't stress about it. Just go.
But I think back to your point, Brad, the fun part, the real kind of nice stuff is when you realize some of the environmental stuff is more than window dressing. Because you go into a bunch of rooms and stuff and you look around, but then some of that stuff just starts making sense, and you start like a little detective work. You start kind of piecing the clues together, and it's really rewarding to kind of like build. You kind of flesh out without any help, aside from the internet and stuff like that.
Right.
But even that has a sense of community, and especially if you are playing it now in the kind of zeitgeist of the moment, of like everybody discovering stuff, there's still portions that are.
Yep, there's still kind of one last big thing.
Yeah, it's huge thing
at least
unless
something crazy happens after that. I don't know, but
where like if you refresh pages, people are still trying to figure it out, which is crazy.
Yeah, they decoded the thing that they thought was going to be it, and.
It's weird. It's something like ARG.
It doesn't seem like it's
like everybody's trying to figure it out.
Like I'm forming this impression of this game as like the Enigma machine of video games. It's like it's some crazy encryption scheme that somebody has to come up with a cipher for to crack.
Right. I think the genius of that game is how unassuming it is. It doesn't present any of that stuff up front.
Right,
it does present stuff.
All
like,
the trailers,
I'm
like
just a cute little indie platformer.
It's the most fucking devious thing in the world. It's just like, oh, great, another indie platformer. Like this one looks really cool. You can rotate, and that looks really nice, and the music's really good. But
they don't even let
But
on,
hey,
like,
man, I've played me some indie platformers over the last few years. I'm kind of over it, and like, oh, this isn't that at all.
Well, like when
in fact, you eventually end up with something that makes all the platforming completely trivial because it's not about that. Like, it's just throwing it in your face. It's like, this isn't about any of the jumping and running you're doing. Just fucking stop doing it.
Like, when we met Phil at PAX Prime last year and played the game for the first time there, he didn't even hint at any of that sort of hidden
fucking
depth.
Insane. Like, it's insane that this game is allowed to exist in the form that it is.
It's pretty awesome.
When you think about, like presenting it on this level of being this of like being Crush or just being some like perspective focused puzzle platformer or something like that.
2D, like a platformer with a clever gameplay hook is like what it looked like at the start. And I was like, even when it was just that, I was fine. I'm like, I think the rotation stuff looks really cool. I like the presentation. But even that was like based upon this notion that like, well, surely it will get more difficult. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
It kind of like that layer of it sort of doesn't.
There's like one maybe challenging platforming bit. Everything else is kind of pretty easy.
Yeah, it's not even about that. Like that's the crazy part to me. Is I just wonder like how many people like outside of the the sound of all the voices of people talking about this game and what it really is, like just someone just goes in blind, buys it, plays it. Are they just going to play it, get to the ending, and then go back in and go like, well, I don't know. Like are those people going to even have had a good time?
And I think it's not without some flaws.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's stuttery. It crashes all over the place.
There's a few weird bugs in it. Like I got stuck on a couple of walls. I exploded once and never came back.
Awesome.
Yeah, like a bomb went off and I never reappeared. The frame rate stuff is probably the worst of it because that seems to happen a bunch. But man, there's
I hear that happens a lot more if you have a USB key plugged into your Xbox.
Oh, yeah. I was getting it quite a bit. But yeah, there's something about it that is just like. Maybe it's the discovery process. Maybe it's like going into it, we kind of didn't expect that stuff to be there. But or maybe it is the insanity.
Well, it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, you literally just do not know what you're going to see behind the next door. Like as you start getting deeper and deeper into these doors that you wouldn't even be able to open unless you had done a ton of work prior. Like just 10 hours in, I was walking into rooms and just going like, oh my god, like what the what else is in this game? And it's really crazy.
And nothing is ever spelled out for you, and that's fun. Like you draw your conclusions, and it seems like they present you with a bunch of information, but nothing is ever like this equals this, or
there's very directly a spot where it says this equals this.
Nothing is spelled out. Like you're kind of always this kind of archaeologist or explorer or kind of dude going around trying to piece this universe.
You could play the game and never come across that stuff. Or just never process it. You would just see it and be like, oh, it's art.
More crap on the wall. And
I think it's kind of amazing that someone could play this game as just a rotating platformer.
I just wonder
what
they'd get out of it because it is really easy. Like the ending just kind of. It's a little light show with kind of no revelation. Like it looks neat, but
it explains everything.
Right. I'm just not looking hard enough.
Everything.
The ending is the Higgs boson.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
At this point, yeah. But if that's the third ending, like okay, sure.
I thought the first ending, I felt like I was watching, I was sitting there, I thought I was being activated. I thought I was like something.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. I thought I was gonna like get up.
Now I gotta go and shoot the senator.
I was about to text all you guys.
I'm now a French Canadian terrorist.
Right, lock your doors. I suddenly understand French.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's very, very strange.
Yeah.
But cool. Very cool game.
Yeah.
God, I really want to go play Fez now.
Yeah. And look at the world. Just enjoy the world and look at the world.
I mean, every time
look at it and enjoy it. Like just get through it once before you start.
Don't stress out. Yeah.
Every time I come across a chalkboard or anything that appears to be some form of writing or imagery of any kind, then I just sit there staring at it, like waiting for something to trigger in my head. Like it's gonna call back to something I saw 3 hours before or something, but nothing.
I had a pen and paper. And I was literally freaking doing like trying to figure stuff out. That was fun. I wish that game came with a manual with a notes section in the back.
There's the moment where you, whatever. It's when you decode. It's the one that is the most active decoding process in the world, where it is straight up giving you feedback about what you're doing as you're doing it.
Yeah,
fucking incredible.
Yeah, that's
like whoa,
and you feel great too because you're finally like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And then this room over here explains. Okay,
I'm an idiot. Great, I'm an idiot. Did you hear that, everybody?
What's your completion percentage right now, Vinny?
206.3.
263.
Which is as high as it's capped out right now, right?
If you don't bug it, right?
I thought I saw 209.
So there are bugs in the game that have allowed people to get more anti-cubes than you're supposed to be able to get, and each one of those contributes to your percentage. So it seems like anyone with 209.4 or whatever it is has either solved the next thing and isn't telling anybody, or they have that extra anti-cube. And then there's one guy that had 300% that apparently just figured out a way to duplicate the anti-cube glitch and totally break the game. So, yes, there are bugs in the game that are messing with the completion percentage, but the true completion right now with kind of where the internet is at as of this recording is 206.3.
There's still stuff to figure out.
That's crazy.
And the thing that people are trying to figure out is kind of awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and I realize that this is now like 4 or 5 days since launch of that game officially. Like, press has had it for a little longer than that. But even in internet time, like nearly a week of the internet banging against this thing and not having figured it out yet is kind of impressive.
We're going to unlock the Oasis. It's going to happen. We'll figure it out.
That's how Logan's run starts.
That's right. My chip turned.
I don't want to hyperbolize too recklessly or anything, but this almost feels like some kind of like landmark moment that something like this could happen.
I guess I don't know. I mean, no, like
just like the depth of this is unprecedented in this day and age.
I guess it's one of those things that is a lot like Dark Souls in that it ships with a lot of mystery surrounding it, and people have to come together to kind of deduce what the fuck is going on. Like, there's no strategy guide out there to help people along. So it's kind of inspiring people to come together in a way that doesn't happen much these days. It kind of reminds me of the Mortal Kombat news groups era.
Right.
I'm going to print out this list of fatalities and then go try them.
All right, well,
or going to the arcade and someone else had their home moves list.
Right.
And it was like, here, check this out. Try this on this guy.
I'll just go check out Alt Games Fez when I get home.
Yeah.
Because you just Kano and Sonya is in Mortal Kombat too. You just got to do a certain move set on that on Shao Kahn's boss stage.
Once you decode what's really going on, you can do all those Kano transformations.
And it's about how much you want to get into it too.
Like, it's also more accessible than like a Dark Souls. Like it's a platformer.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So you are the level of challenge is reduced. It is. Not that it isn't a challenging game, but just getting into it is way easier
more
than
cerebral.
Yeah, everything is in your mind.
Yeah. It's true.
I'm not even sure this game exists anymore.
You're saying Fez is the mind killer?
I'm saying that like holographic Tupac might be a Fez puzzle, and I can't really tell. Like I got into Ryan's car this morning, and he was listening to the Fez soundtrack, and I kind of started freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, he got uneasy really quickly. I just like the ambient sounds.
No,
but,
it's just.
But I had also just been playing like Mass Effect multiplayer all weekend. So
Did you disconnect your system from Xbox Live to do the clock stuff?
Totally.
Okay.
And that took me a while.
You'd have to. Like, I don't think anyone.
Man, that
who
took
has
me
all
longer
that
than I
stuff.
probably should. But like, I just.
Shh. Yeah, I'm just going to leave the room now.
getting too deep in the puzzles.
Yeah.
All right.
I went in and I just basically said, no, this is not. Don't set up this internet automatically. Here, take this IP address. That is 255.255.255.255.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. You're disconnected. It reminded me, there's this book, Ready Player One, where like the world is trying to solve this puzzle. And it kind of reminded me of that because when I had beaten it, by the time I got to that last part, and I was literally on like, something awful, NeoGAF, everybody just refreshing all these pages, our site, basically.
Game facts.
Who's going to get it?
Right.
Who's going to, like, and they're like, there are pieces that people are like.
Someone posted something on our boards right before we came up here saying, like, I figured it out. But it looks like bullshit.
In Contact, when nobody can figure out what the messages mean,
right?
It's kind of what that's like. Like, are you thinking the right way?
You're not thinking three-dimensionally.
They should have sent a poet. Like, yes, exactly. You're not thinking three-dimensionally. It's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah,
but I think I was wrong.
You weren't thinking four-dimensional.
Oh, no.
Is there going to be a mysterious
leave.
billionaire who's figured out Fez, and we're going to go to his secret station, and he's going to explain it to us?
He's in an airship, with, like, just laughing.
Turns out Phil
Fish is the secret billionaire?
He actually is a secret billionaire. This was his lifelong passion project.
I thought Phil Fish was the answer to one of the puzzles, but I was dead wrong.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the yes.
That's the kind of thinking that comes up, huh?
I was so far off. Really far.
Or were you?
I don't know.
Don't count it out.
I don't know. I'll go check my notes. Yeah.
I just think like there are clear, technical issues with the XBLA version of Fez. It's still so impressive that a game could evoke that kind of response from people. That kind of emotional response for what that game is. For as little as that game really invests in things like characters or story or anything like that. Like what happens in Bastion, it's like it's built for that way. But seeing the way people react to Fez has been pretty crazy.
I mean, it's also kind of dumb. Like the whole game is kind of dumb. There's definitely a tongue in cheek. Like like you got a Fez, and that's your magic power.
Yeah.
Like that enables you to see the world differently than some of the Gomez can now interact with these characters. And
I mean, even just the dialogue you get in the village at the beginning, where everyone's just yelling and talking like idiots the entire time.
And that is probably the weirdest part of that game and the most disturbing is the more you figure out, you realize the world is even dumber than you thought. Like, not dumb in like a not knowledgeable way, but like, it doesn't take itself seriously.
No.
It's pretty tongue-in-cheek. Weird. Play it.
Okay.
I kind of want to just go home and stare at it.
I will keep playing it.
I
find it, again, like the production on it, like even without digging into that stuff, I find so great and so pleasurable.
There's some great music in it.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that really sticks out is that once you kind of figure out the thing you need to figure out, like the game, a lot of it devolves into just going around the world and applying what you've learned in a way that is not challenging at all. So it's just like, okay, you go from like 6 anti-cubes to 26 over like, the course of an hour or something like that. Because it's just you going around and doing stuff.
If you arrived at that cipher yourself, I could see that being super satisfying.
Yeah.
Go around and make good on all that stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes executing that stuff can be.
Yeah. It seems like that stuff. It would have been nice to see more variety on that specific part of the game.
But it's well thought out. That's the part that's really impressive to me is, Phil, if you did it, congratulations. Like, you literally made something that I could see being used in the real world. Like, if we found that on Mars, a lot of that stuff, like, I feel like, yeah, totally. That works.
Fez will be aboard the next Voyager, is what
you're saying that when we find...
It felt like the fucking Arecibo message at times. Like, that's the... where they, like, build the crazy, like, galactic language and send it out into space.
Sure, Esperanto.
They're beaming it out.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird-looking message they beam out. Like,
if it is, then I agree with you. Yeah.
It felt like that at times.
It's cool. You know what's also
so when we start getting alien messages, we'll get Phil Fish in there and
run him through Fez.
No way, he's just gonna insult him.
They should have sent a Canadian
intergalactic war.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, all alien messages will just be a sequence of left trigger, right trigger prompts.
Right,
so
exactly.
Should be good.
All games from Uranus are shit. Fuck Phil.
Oh, God damn it, Phil.
Oh, Phil.
Now we're at war with Uranus.
We have always been at war with Uranus.
Uranus can't be stopped.
Now we're at war with Oceania. So
Fez.
Review
is up on the site.
Legend of Grimrock.
Yeah, that came out last week.
That's
like
another
Friday.
Weird.
Another weird game.
Yeah.
Those are kind of